Would guidance from an expert help you to grow your business or career? Or do you seek inspiration for you or your kids? If so, welcome. Behind the Words TV gives you that one-on-one time with famous and emerging authors or content creators. They'll take you where you want to go. Behind the Words TV, right now. And we're back for this segment of Behind the Words TV. I'm speaking with Tom Cleary, author of Understanding God. And we've been having a great conversation about faith and our response and our fleeing from our faith, the embracement of our, embracement, is that a word?
It is now.
Embracing our faith, and it's a wonderful conversation. So, Tom, we talked before about the idea that people have a misunderstanding of their relationship or of what God is telling us. What does that mean?
Well, it means that you think you have to earn God's favor and God's love. And clearly we know we can't do that because we're very much fallen creatures and God is God. And so that leads to burnout, despair, feelings of unworthiness, and ultimately you just kind of drift away from the church because who wants to live like that for very long?
Right, right.
I certainly did not.
Well, tell us about your journey.
It got to the point where I was just quite spiritually exhausted.
Well, back before that, you were
I was
born
raised,
and reared,
I was born and raised Catholic.
Hardcore Catholic.
Hardcore Catholic, what I call full immersion Catholic.
Full immersion, that's the word, I love it.
Catholic grade school, the nuns, the priests, the whole bit.
Any rulers?
Oh yeah, yeah, no question about that. Anybody who is Catholic they should recognize the world I came from.
Yes, okay.
And if you weren't, you should have some sympathy for these folks.
Did you ever, I went to the Omaha, this is completely off the subject, but not really, Omaha Community Playhouse last Christmas, and there's the Christmas Catechism, and there was an actress who portrayed, they had the whole setup of a Catholic school room, baby Jesus and the Christmas tree and everything, and she was just playing the part. I never went to Catholic school, but boy, did she nail it, because in the audience, we were her students, and someone came in late, and they said, and she said, what is your name? And they said, my name is such and such, and she said, Sister Catherine, my name is such and such. So there's all sorts of protocols,
absolutely,
aren't there?
No question about it.
And that is your environment. How impactful is that on an 8-year-old?
It can't not be. Everything in your life was centered around the church and the school, all your friends, all your social activities, all your sports activities. You met somebody new, it was not where you're from or what do you do, it's what parish are you from, what Catholic parish are you from, where do you go to church?
Wow.
And so it's very much a full immersion. And the twin pillars are rules and insularity. They keep you isolated from the rest of the world.
Wow.
It's not that they badmouth Protestants or Lutherans or Methodists, they just never admitted they existed. When I finally went to public school, I met people, and I thought, who are these people? Are they from Mars?
Yeah.
You're a what?
They're not Catholic?
You're a Lutheran? You're a Universal? What is that? You still believe? You're getting into heaven? Oh my gosh.
How could you possibly get into heaven?
Absolutely. And so it was a shock to say the least.
You haven't prayed the rosary enough times today or
That's
whatever.
right. That's right.
I'm just learning what a rosary is right now. I'm not even sure.
So, we'll skip that part.
Okay, good. Well, tell us more about full immersion Catholicism and where you went with that.
It's very much based on rules and order, and not that you don't believe. Catholics will tell you you have to have faith, but they also say you have to perform some works to secure your salvation. Now, I spent a lot of time showing how that really terrible idea is spread out throughout most of the Protestant world in one version or another. But it's the idea that you've got to climb a ladder, you got to, check off boxes on a list and perform certain actions and good deeds to get God to love you. And eventually it grates on you. You know you can't. And you're just tired of always feeling unworthy, of always hearing that voice in your head saying, you're never good enough, you're not
well,
good
yeah,
enough,
if somebody missed the earlier segment that I read out of your book, the whole part about, I
Right.
know I will never be good enough. Doesn't that leave you destitute, feeling
It does.
lost?
Absolutely. It feels you completely lost and empty, and the only immediate remedy is to just walk away from the church. And I think that's the process that has gone on tens of millions of times with people. That's why people left. My story is just a microcosm of a much, much bigger phenomenon.
Well, when you went to college, you hit a little bit of a wall. You want to share anything about that?
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to share more about my first year of college, but I was really quite drunk at the time.
You don't remember much.
I do not. That was all part of.
And that's an outgrowth, you think, of
I
that
think in some
immersion.
It was
full immersion
outgrowth of a lot of self-debasing kind of attitudes.
Well, and we all have that, yeah.
We all do. Mine got to be extreme.
Yeah.
I tend to have an all-or-nothing personality. That's the deal.
Yeah.
But that was all part of, why I sort of, was feeling this way. And even when I got sober, and I became sober before I drifted away from the church, and that may have actually I thought I was in control, and if I'm in control, do I really need God? Do I need somebody yipping at me saying you're not good enough? And so it was just easier to walk away.
Yeah, and drink.
Well,
Perhaps.
even be sober and just to say, I'm done with the whole thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I tell the story during my speeches of that after the loss of my daughter and my wife, that I became a 2-pack a day guy, and people go, really? I didn't know you're smoking. I said, no. 2 boxes of macaroni and cheese a day, two full boxes. I could put them down, and then my joke is they call it comfort food, right?
That's right.
I mean, my point is that people find all sorts of outlets, many of them bad.
Yes.
And what was your story as far as your conversion is the wrong word, but you're just reaching bottom, and what happened? How'd you get there, and how'd you turn it around?
Well, I turned it around my sobriety again before I formally walked away from the church.
Okay.
And so I got myself sober. I'm still grappling with spiritual issues, still feeling the same unworthiness, and in some way I was fearful that if I kept feeling these awful feelings, I might go back to drinking again. Mm-hmm. And so I just ended up walking away from the church. There was no big ceremony, no big shouting or throwdowns.
No.
I just walked away.
And that was to another way of reducing that
voice.
Yip you said.
I got out of earshot of the voice, and I just forgot about it. Just left it behind.
Well, and then what contributed to your sense of understanding at this point?
Well, God speaks to us through the people He puts in our lives.
Exactly.
And that is absolutely the case with me. There were 2 people that I knew very personally, and then 2 public figures. One was my wife, lifelong Lutheran, in her 20s, like a lot of people. She kind of got not connected, but was always a believer. And we got married, had kids, and we got them baptized. And then when we moved, she went and looked for a church to join, and we found a church, Rejoice Lutheran Church in Omaha, Nebraska. And that's where the second really main person in my life was Pastor Ken Whitrock.
Okay.
And the ministry that he built there was completely opposite of everything I had ever heard. And it fit very well with my wife's attitude of just graciousness and openness, acceptance of who you were. You were just welcomed. You didn't have to do anything. There was no process to go through. There was no checklist. You came in and you were welcomed. And this ministry that he built, it slowly sort of worked its way in softening my heart.
Interesting. Great tale. And I'm familiar with the church, of course, and I think that presence that Jesus with skin on really helps out. And I think in our next segment, Tom, we're going to talk about our response to that whole kind of understanding that you gained.
Absolutely.
Tom Cleary, Understanding God, and we'll see you at the next segment of Behind the Words TV.